Hi, it's Sylvester, and I am scared of men. I probably don't really need to explain why men are scary. If you're watching this and you are a cisgendered man and you have never been harmed by another man, and you're an anti feminist, sexist, misogynist, men's rights activist, then you're probably going to get mad hearing me say that men are scary. But if you're anyone else, you probably know very well how scary men are and the horrible things that men have been known to do. Yes, I do know that women do horrible things as well, and non-binary people do horrible things as well, but men are just overall so scary and can be so predatory. And if you are anyone other than a cisgendered man, you probably have some kind of horror story about being harmed by a man, if not multiple men, and multiple horror stories. Whether you're a cisgendered woman, a trans woman, a non-binary femme, a non-binary trans masculine person, a trans man. If you're anything other than a cisgendered man, you probably have some kind of story about being harmed by men, because men are scary as hell. And I am a man, if you don't know. And so it's a little bit weird, and a big part of what made it so difficult for me to come out as a man initially was my own fear of men. I didn't want to be a man because I didn't want to be scary. I didn't want to be the bad guy. And it's hard for me to not think of men as bad guys. And I know, hashtag not all men, but hashtag too many men, a lot of men, way too many men, you know? And so it's a little bit hard for me to understand that there's this kind of issue I have where I am aware that men are scary. I am scared of men, but when people are scared of me, it makes me feel small. It makes me feel offended. It makes me feel like people see me as something that I'm not. They see me as the bad guy. They see me as the big bad wolf. They see me as a potential predator. They see me as a potential abuser or assaulter, or, you know, like when people are scared of me, specifically non-men, when non-men are scared of me, it makes me feel bad and it hurts my feelings. You'd think I'd be able to understand, and you think I'd have more empathy for these people, but, you know, maybe I just fundamentally lack empathy a little bit, but I have a hard time putting myself in their shoes and seeing myself the way I see other men. You know, like, when I'm around other men, I feel scared. I feel small. I feel like I'm a potential victim. And yet, when people are around me who feel that way about me, they feel like they're scared and they feel small and they feel like a potential victim. It doesn't make me feel compassion for them. It makes me feel frustrated because I want to yell at them and say, like, why do you see me that way? That's not who I am. I'm not like other men, you know, like, I'm not like that. And it but, like, am I not like other men? I mean, I don't know. I like to think I'm not like other men. I like to think I'm not a bad guy. I like to think that I'm better than that. But it's really difficult to see myself the way other people see me. You know, like, I've been around femmes who act scared of me. I've been around women who act scared of me. I scare people. I creep people out. I make people feel like they might be preyed upon, like they might be victimized. Like, I have a couple stories. I've told this story before on this channel, but, you know, one time I was walking down the street and it was nighttime, and there was this person at the bus stop who I'm assuming was a woman. I know you're not supposed to assume gender, but for the sake of this story, let's say she was a woman. And I walked up to her and I said, "I like your skirt." And she just looked at me with this fear in her eyes, like she was terrified. And putting myself in her shoes, like I remember what it was like before I came out as a trans man, when I thought that I was a woman. If a strange man came up to me at night while I was by myself and complimented me, I would have been scared too. I would have felt potentially like he was being creepy. I was genuinely just trying to compliment this person. But, a lot of men are very predatory, as I've said, and a lot of times when a man compliments a strange woman, it's because he wants something from that woman. He's trying to get something from that woman. And so this harmless compliment seemed like it wasn't harmless to this person. And that was the first moment when I realized how scary I was to people just by presenting as a man, just by being a man. And it didn't make me feel good. Another time I was at the bar and there was this girl who was crying. She was having, again, I'm assuming gender here, but I'm pretty sure she was a girl. I'm pretty sure she used she, her pronouns. And she was crying and she was having a really bad night. And at one point she was sitting on the sidewalk outside the bar by herself crying. And I went over to her just because I didn't want her to be alone. And I was trying to comfort her. And I was like, "Hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay?" And then these other girls came over. Again, I'm assuming gender, but, these other people who I assume were girls came over and they're like, "Oh, hey." And they like kind of butted me out of they kind of like got between me and the girl who was crying and started like asking the girl if she was okay. And then they turned to me and they're like, "Sorry to cock block you." And I was like so offended because it's like, do you think that I was preying on this crying girl, that I was trying to get in her pants? Can a man not just go up to a girl and ask her if she's okay without it being seen as predatory? Like, I felt so insulted. And again, the fact that that's how these people saw me, it really hurt my feelings. And this is part of the reason why I identify as non-binary, because I don't see myself the way other people see me. I like the way I look. Like, I like that people assume I'm a man. I like that people say that I pass, I like having passing privilege. I like being a man, but I don't like what people see me as. Like, I'm a man, but I'm not like most men. I've spent so much of my life essentially being a woman. Like, I thought I was a woman and presented as a woman for like 26 years or something like that. And so the fact that people think that I'm just some regular man who doesn't know what it's like to be a woman, it's insulting to me, and it upsets me. Because, like, again, I don't want people to see me that way. I mean, I would rather be seen as a man than to be seen as a woman. I'd rather be treated as a man than be treated as a woman. And I am in no way saying that men have it worse than women, okay? But I just don't like the way people see me. I don't like the way that people think of me, And it really, it honestly, it pisses me off. And I know my anger is part of the reason people are scared of me, but I was angry long before I came out as a man. I scare people even without being angry. I scare people just by existing as a man. Like, I wasn't angry when I was talking to that girl at the bar who was crying, and yet I was still seen as a threat. I wasn't angry when I complimented that woman's skirt, and yet I was still seen as a threat. And it bothers me that I'm seen as this big, scary monster when I see myself essentially as something different. Like, I see myself as a man, but I don't really see myself as a man. Like, I see myself as something other than what men are. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone else but me, but I'm a man. I'm not a man. And that doesn't mean that I'm a woman. That doesn't mean that I'm a girl. It just means that I am not really entirely a man. And like, that's truly how I feel, and that's truly how I see myself. And I feel like some people are confused about me calling myself non-binary, because I do feel so comfortable being a man, and because I do still consider myself to be a man. It confuses some people, and I understand that. I do. I get how that's confusing. But there, like, some people think if you think of yourself as a man and see yourself as a man, then aren't you just a man? And it's like, well, no, because again, I see myself as a man, but the way I define being a man is fundamentally different from how everyone around me seems to see men and think of men, and how I think of other men. When I think of myself, I still think of myself as that scared girl who would have been freaked out at the bus stop if some guy complimented my skirt. I still see myself as the crying girl at the bar who would have felt preyed upon by some man asking me if I was okay. Like, I still see myself as the potential victim. You know, I don't see myself as the potential threat. And perhaps that's dangerous, because I know that I can be very scary. And in some ways, I can be very threatening. And I have in the past hurt people without even really trying. I have in the past hurt people in part because I felt victimized. And so I lashed out and hurt people to try to protect myself. And so I know that I can be a threat. I know that I can be dangerous. I know that I can be the bad guy. I have been the bad guy. But I just don't want people to see me that way. And it's insulting that a lot of people do see me that way. And I feel like a lot of that does have to do with my gender. I feel like if I still presented as female, if I still looked and was, you know, if people still thought that I was a girl, I feel like it would be a lot easier for people to understand that I'm not this big bad guy, you know? I don't know. Because, like, again, a big part of the reason why people are threatened by me is because of my anger. And I do understand that my anger can be intense and frightening, especially if you've been hurt by angry people in the past. Anger can be very triggering. Anger can remind you of past harm. And seeing an angry man, you feel extra vulnerable, because angry men tend to do horrible things. Angry men have been known to do some really, really bad things. And before I came out as trans, before I came out as a man, my anger, it still upset people. People didn't like my anger, but I wasn't seen as like, I wasn't as threatening to people as I am now, if that makes any sense. Like, people weren't scared of me and my anger. They were more annoyed with my anger or mad at me for being angry. Because there is a big difference when a woman is angry versus when a man is angry. When women are angry, we as a society tend to roll our eyes and say, like, oh, you know, here's an angry woman. Nobody likes an angry woman. Like, you know, it's kind of, whereas when a man's angry, it's like, uh-oh, here's an angry man. There's going to be some property damage or someone's going to get hurt. You know, like, when a woman's angry, you don't expect her to cause the same level of harm as what you would expect from an angry man. And so I do feel like it's unfair the way people perceive me, and I do think that a lot of it has to do with my gender and the expectations that we have for men. And again, I shouldn't be upset with people for being scared of me, because I know what it's like to be scared of men. I am scared of men. And the people who find me scary and threatening find it hard to believe that I'm scared of men, but it's true. Like, I had this one friend, and he was one of the nicest guys ever, but I was still scared of him. We would sit and chat, and I would literally be shaking because I was scared that he was going to try to hurt me. Even though he gave me no reason to believe he was going to hurt me, I was just scared of him because he was a man. And like, he would offer me alcohol sometimes, and instead of thinking, man, this guy's nice, I would think, is he trying to get me drunk so he could take advantage of me? Like, I felt like I was like I had to have my guard up when I was around this guy because I was just scared of men. And he's not the only one who's made me feel that way. You know, when I'm around men, that tends to be how I feel. I feel like I'm a potential victim, like I might get injured or harmed in some way. And so, again, I should understand. Of all people, I should understand and have more compassion for the people who are scared of me. I should be more empathetic towards the people who are scared of me. But I can't help but be offended because I just don't see myself the way that they see me. I am not a woman, but in some ways, I still kind of see myself as one. And in some ways, I still kind of am a woman. And even though, like, I often refer to myself in the past as being a woman, because even though I know I'm a trans man, I know in my heart of hearts that I'm a man, I still kind of feel like I was a woman at a certain point in my life for many years. I feel like I was a woman. When I was a child, I was a girl. I was a little girl, you know? And again, you shouldn't refer to trans people that way. Like, if you know any trans men, you shouldn't refer to them as children, as little girls, or refer to them before they transitioned as women. But for me, I do look back at old pictures of myself from when I thought I was a girl and think that that's a girl. That's a woman. And that used to be me. I feel like I used to be a woman, and in some ways I still am. And so, anyways, sorry, that's pretty much all. I've gotten really worked up in this video, and I apologize if I've scared anyone. Again, maybe I do kind of lack empathy. I'm not like a sociopath. I do have empathy. I am capable of feeling compassion for other people, but sometimes it is a little bit hard. Because it's hard when people see me as a monster, or when I feel like people see me as a monster, to feel sorry for that person rather than feel like I'm being attacked by that person. But it does really feel like the latter. So, anyways, that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay frosty. Bye.